Hello, I'm Russ, and welcome to my kitchen. Today on Cooking with Russ, I'm going to be making sauteed pork chops, also known as, at least what I call them, Puerto Rican pork chops. Now, this is a recipe that my wife taught me to make years ago, and I truly fell in love with it, and we actually make it all the time. So I'm going to share with you how to make sauteed pork chops. The first thing you're going to need to have is a medium-sized pan like I have here with a cover on it. I'm going to set my heat of my burner up to probably about medium-high. Then I'm going to be adding about approximately 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil, that is. You can play with it and add a little more or a little less. That's about what you're going to need. And then you're going to want to bring this up to heat. Now in that, I've already pre-prepared the onions and the bell pepper. You're going to need at least 1 whole sweet onion and approximately 1 bell pepper. Now I like the yellow and red and green bell peppers. So what I do is I cut up about 1/3 of each, and then I put the remainder part of the bell pepper in a freezer bag and stick it in the freezer because we use it all the time. It won't be but probably a matter of days before we'll pull it out. But I found out if you put it in the refrigerator, you'll end up forgetting it and it'll go bad. So at least in the freezer, it'll last for a little while. But we're going to bring this up to temperature, and then I'm just going to add my onion and my bell pepper into my pan. And then we're just going to render this down. We're not going to I don't want to caramelize it, but I do want the onions to become soft and kind of translucent, and I also want the bell peppers to become soft. Now this is going to take just a little while. All right, this is starting to come up to heat and starting to cook. Basically, there's not a lot to do at this point except just sit back and let it render down. This may take, 10-15 minutes at least. You can also add the lid onto it, which will help somewhat to render it down a little bit faster. It'll keep the heat in the pan, so it'll help it cook just a little bit quicker. So yeah, we're just gonna, that's starting to smell so good. You don't want this to burn now, so if it acts like it's wanting to burn, just reduce your heat down to medium, but medium, high heat to get this reduced down. I went ahead and reduced my heat down a little bit more. It was looking like it was starting to have a tendency to burn just a little bit, so that's not what we want to do. We want to get it just to get them kind of softened up and get them ready for the other ingredients. Now, these will continue to cook as we add other ingredients, so they'll continue to get softer as we go on, not quite so hard. All right, to this I'm going to add about a tablespoon, about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. You want to mince it up pretty good. Now the reason I'm adding the garlic toward the end as I'm going to add the other ingredients is because garlic has a tendency to burn, and that's something you don't want to do. So I kind of throw it in here at the last as I'm starting to add my other ingredients. So about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic, or about a tablespoonful. We want to add that to the mixture. And stir it around a little bit and get it going. Smells good, trust me. And we're also going to add some black pepper. Once again, you don't want to add this in the beginning because pepper has a tendency to burn. And a little bit of sea salt. All right. Now to that, I have about a cup of salad olives. I like salad olives so you don't have to cut them up, or you can add whole olives, whichever one you prefer. So I'm going to add about a half of this cup, about a half a cup of the salad olives to this mixture at this time. I'm also going to add at this time about a tablespoon of butter. This is real butter, unsalted real butter. Let this get in there and melt down real good. Turn my burner up a little bit. Man, it's making me hungry already. Now to this mixture, I'm going to add some tomato sauce. Whatever brand you want to use is just up to you. About half of this can of tomato sauce in there. And now we're going to add our pork chops. I've already washed and got our pork chops ready. These are about half, maybe 3/4 of an inch pork chop center cut. And then we're just going to place them around in this mixture. Wiggle them down in there a little bit. Oh, these look good. Doesn't matter if they all fit, they're going to cook down. They're going to render down with the rest of this. So, yep. Then I'm going to bring over the rest of my tomato sauce and pour it over the top of this. And also the rest of my olives. Oh, got to get it all. Every one of them. Every last one of you is going in. Yes, sir. All right. Now, we're just going to cover this up. And there's really nothing else left to do other to bring it up to a nice simmer. You don't want to overcook it too fast. Just bring it up to a nice simmer and let it cook for about 45 minutes to an hour. The time kind of varies depending on the thickness of the pork chops and everything else. But about 45 minutes to an hour is going to have to sit here and simmer. Okay, while that's cooking, let me introduce you to my little friend. This is my little friend. It is a Tiger rice cooker. My wife bought this not too long after we got married. One of her friends told her about it, and we usually cook rice in the traditional way. I was a little skeptical about this in the very beginning, but once we used it a few times, I'm like, oh my God, this is the way to cook rice. No fuss, no muss. It does everything. All you do is add the ingredients and turn it on. So I love this Tiger rice cooker. Is it cheating? I don't know, but it sure is easy. Now to this, we're going to add some yellow rice. We've tried several brands. And I'm a butcher of names, I know, but I particularly like this Vigo yellow rice. That's what we usually go with. So we have the family size package. I'm just going to reach over here and cut off the top. Just going to pour it in. And to that, we're going to add 4 cups of water as on the directions of the package. Got that going in there. And then you also want to add about, I don't know, I think it says 4 tablespoons. So I'll add about 3 tablespoons of olive oil to it. Love me some EVO. And yes, I know that's not a real southern thing. And then also, since it says 4 tablespoons, but I also like to add 1 tablespoon of regular butter, unsalted regular butter. I add to that. So that's all we need. Let me get a spoon here. Give it a little stir. Make sure they get stirred up real good. And then it's pretty well, it's got its own little pull-out cord here. Pull the cord out. I'm going to set it over here off to the side. Actually, I'm going to turn it around where I can see it. And then I'm going to plug it in. And then just push the button. The button on the front right now is red, and whenever it finishes cooking, it'll become yellow. Now, one thing we've learned over the years, you don't want this once it's finished cooking. You really don't want to let it sit for a long period of time. It does have a tendency to burn the bottom if you let it sit. So immediately, because it's got a rice warmer. The yellow is, once it gets cooking, it kind of keeps the rice warm. But it has a tendency, if you leave it in there too long, to burn the bottom. So just as soon as it clicks over to cooked, we unplug it, turn it off. All right. Well, that's about it for now. All we're going to do now, our pork chops are over here simmering really well. Need to turn it up. It's not quite simmering as fast as I want it to go. So let me bump it up here just a little bit. Get it simmering a little bit better. Doesn't that look good? Oh yeah, looks really good. The reason I keep panning over there is because I got a monitor over there for the overhead camera, so I want to make sure you're getting a good shot at this. So, oh yeah, she's starting to come up to a little bit better of a simmer. All right. I'm going to take a little break because this is going to take a little while, and I'll be back when it's pretty well finished. Okay, we're back. It's been about 45 minutes. Like I said, you just need to keep track of your pork chops and know when they're done. You don't want to overcook them. It depends on the thickness of and the size of the pork chops naturally. But a good medium simmer for about 45 minutes to an hour, somewhere in that area. So yeah, they're nice and done. They look really, really good. So now you see how they were kind of like stacked up on each other in the very beginning, but once they've cooked down and they're in all the sauce, all that goodness sitting in there. Oh yeah, it looks really good. And our rice cooker has finished cooking our rice, so we're ready to plate and eat. We want to start off with a little bit of rice. Whatever the amount you want. And then you're going to need to get a pork chop. Place it up on top. Now I like to use a slotted spoon to get down in here and get some of this goodness with the juice, the onion, and the bell pepper with that juice. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's looking really, really, really good. Yeah. So there you have it. Sauteed pork chops, or as I call them, Puerto Rican pork chops. It has, since my wife has taught me how to cook it, and she's cooked it for me, become actually one of my favorite dishes. It's good enough, it'll make you slap your mama, I promise you. So I hope you enjoyed my very first cooking video, and I'm going to strive to make them better, and I'll be learning along the way. You'll be watching along the way as I learn, but I hope you enjoy it. I had a good time. It's been very interesting, and thank you for coming into my kitchen today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and God bless.